The gentleness of the display betrays the fact that the Lancaster could pull some spectacular manoeuvres when required during the war. Alex Henshaw was the legendary chief test pilot at Vickers Castle Bromwich factory, and his party piece was to actually barrel roll a Lancaster.
I had a chief test pilot on Lancasters that came up with me, and the practice was that from the die, we dive to 370, pulled the aircraft up into its up to that angle. Well, then it's either pitching forward, you had to do it fairly gently, otherwise the engines would cut, or do a steep turn. And I did a steep turn, and the pilot said, "Christ's sake, Chief, steady on, you'll have the bugger over." And so I thought, well, why not, you see? And the secret was, of course, you just couldn't roll it. You had to do it with a little bit of circumspect. And the way it could be done was, I had my glove on the top of the instrument combing, and the secret was to keep this glove suspended in the air. So when you pulled up the negative G, if you were doing that on a roll, well, you could probably flick out. And of course, if you didn't do it the reverse way, then all the engines were cut, and then of course you would, with loss of power, you'd flick out anyway. But if it could be done with the glove just being suspended in mid-air, you were between positive and negative G, and the aircraft will roll over as gently as a moth. In fact, I've done it so many times that with the Czech pilot once, he was standing up. I said, "Fender, over." He didn't really know what I was saying. I went out, and I never forget the look of his face when he was looking at 1 minute to the ground, and it was up there, and his feet were gently coming on and off the ground. Gentle as a lamb.
That was my first trip at Castle Bromwich. Alex said to me, he said, "Peter," he said, "I'd like you to come up with me in a Lancaster so that I can show you the normal procedures that we carry out in our testing. And then you'll know exactly what to do." So I said, "Yes, okay." So he said, "I've got a Lancaster to test." So I sat up front beside him and took off and climbing up, full throttle, climbing speed, engine pressures, temperatures, yes, they're all okay. We'll keep climbing. We'll get up to about 15,000 feet, checking the climb, continuing to check the climb on the way up. And then we'll do a level run. All engines flat out. Give it time to build up speed, to see if it'll build up to its required speed. Of course, these Lancasters were only engines and airframes. They didn't have any gear on board, no guns or radios or anything. So a lightly loaded Lancaster. And so we then got up to 15,000 feet, and he said, "I'm going to do a level run now. Full throttles on each engine, yes, pressures, temperatures, yes, all okay. The controls are okay. We'll just let it speed build up, see if it gets up to what we want," which it did. And he said, "We've got one more thing to do. We've got to put it into a dive to test, to see what the upfloat on the ailerons is." You know the ailerons. On the inside edge of each aileron was a little line painted. And if it came up above that, then it failed the test. So we Alex put it into a dive, and it got up to 390 on a Lanc, which is quite a high speed for a Lanc. I said, "This one's okay. The upfloat on the ailerons is fine. So we'll just pull up now and lose our bit of height, and then we'll go back." So he pulled up. Next thing is, I was sitting beside. We went round. We did an upward barrel roll in the Lanc. I thought, "Oh no, what the bloody hell's he doing?" Because I'd never flown in a Lanc before anyway. And so we did this upward barrel roll, just to lose a bit of height, didn't gain height, but lose a bit of speed. And then we eventually returned to Castle Bromwich. But when I used to tell some of the bomber chaps about this, they could hardly believe it, because they don't forget the aircraft they were flying was heavily laden with